We're going to cover a few things that are left over from last time, from our session last week on the 23rd. They were all things that we were waiting on answers from Tammy. We had a question from the audience that said, I have a question regarding participants that are receiving food stamps. If they bring in the parent's food stamp letter, is that sufficient? And the answer is yes, but it should show who in the household is receiving the benefit. Tammy, is there anything else that we need to add to that answer?
No, that should be sufficient.
Great.
In most cases, when we look at the food stamps, it lists the household members too that are receiving. So.
Okay, great. We had another question that said, do you want us to scan in the trial balance with the expenditure report? And that would be nice because that will keep all of the information together. We had another question from Linda that said, I just saw an email asking for a June 1 through 30 report that's due July 30th. What exactly do you need? What is the template for it? Where is the template for it? It was attached to an email. This is a DCEO required grant report that is due 30 days after the calendar quarter end. A trial balance must be submitted with this report. And Tammy was going to make sure that everybody that is a DCEO grantee understood everything that was in that template. So if you have any questions about that report, please get in touch with Tammy about that. We had another question that was, has the 30% been released for DCEO yet? 30% of program funding has been requested for all programs. That is for DCEO. And then we had a question about ADP processing payroll. Tammy, would you like to share what that answer is, just in case anybody else is using ADP or another payroll service?
Okay, can you give me more context on the question?
It was from Byron Nelder, and it said ADP is processing the payroll. The fees and workman's comp will not be reflected in youth payroll upload. Where would those charges be on the expenditure report?
Okay, when you're talking about FICA and workman's comp, it will be under the 1,000 line item under youth wages. So the things that are in that line item are your youth wages and the employer's portion of FICA and workman's comp. Now, any fees associated with it, like ADP fees, would come under your admin costs.
So then Byron would need to get a payroll report from ADP so that he can include that on his expenditure report. But the ADP fees would need to be included under the contract costs.
Yes, contract or the administration costs.
Great. Okay, so we're done with the follow-up questions from last week. Let's take a look at the questions that we have from this week already. What we're going to do is we're going to start down our list, and as we need to demonstrate things, I'll move the check-ins out of the way, but please make sure that you have checked in for your organization on the check-in lists. So let's take a look in our chat pod to see if we have any questions right away. Toby's asking in my EDF, which is, Datia answered that for me, expenditure documentation forms. In my expenditure documentation forms, if I add fringe benefits to the amount of the youth wages, doesn't that give me a false balance? Toby, was that about the balance between the payroll that you entered versus that plus the workman's comp and Medicare and Social Security? If you can just type yes or no in the chat pod, that would be great. What did you mean? We were talking about the expenditure reports, and if Fred or Datia can help with this answer, because this is a DHS grantee, we want to make sure that the expenditure documentation form has the Social Security, Medicare, and Workman's Comp included with the payroll that you're actually paying the youth, so that we make sure that what you are reporting is the whole package. And if the DHS folks need to get in touch with anybody, you can contact Ashley, Datia, or Fred. And Fred and Datia both are on the call this morning. Let's take a look down here. What forms should the youth complete with the violence prevention video? There is one activity report that it's an activity, it's a word search puzzle. So if they want to complete that and keep that in their file with their other documents, you can do that. Otherwise, there is a question on the pre and post assessment that will need to be answered correctly, and they can get the answer from watching the presentation, the video. We have one more question before we start into our actual process this morning. What are the required work readiness activities youth must complete in order to be considered successful besides the pre and post assessment? We would like them to complete the Employment 101 guide so that they have a job readiness or a career readiness plan in place when they go back out into the world after the session is over this year. For them to be considered successful in the program, they must complete the pre and post assessment, and the post assessment must be at minimum a 70% correct answer rate, and then they must have one uploaded payroll for them to be considered a success in the program, for your success in the program, for the program organization. All right, so let's move on to the eligibility and enrollment. We have a question about eligibility and enrollment. So if you have that question right now, let's type that into the chat pod, and we will answer that. Tammy, while we're waiting for people to type, is there anything else that you need to say about payroll or anything before we move on to that report at the end of the session?
No, just basically if you have an uploaded payroll, make sure you get that done with the expenditure report form. Trial balances, yeah, if you want to upload those, that would be great. Those are also required with the DGR report that's due to us today. So, and then we'll discuss the DGR, after we get done with the session. That'll be the last item.
Okay. If there is one payroll in the system, are they considered completed? Yes, but hopefully they have more than one payroll. I have a question about the last question about successful completion. I missed the last portion. They must have one payroll uploaded, correct. For the youth to be considered a success, they need to complete their pre and post assessment and have one payroll uploaded. All right. Do we have any other questions about eligibility and enrollment? We got a couple of people typing right now. You're welcome, Nicole. All right, we've got somebody typing. While we're waiting for that one to be typed, if you have any questions about the pre and post assessment, please type those into the chat pod at this time. Okay, Donna's typing, what about them taking the Employment 101? Is that tied to the student being successful as well? The Employment 101 is not directly tied to the success of the applicant as far as your participant, as far as the provider's participant. It is tied to the youth's success because then they will be more able to correctly answer the questions on the post-assessment. It's just a great system. It gives them a lot of information to help them be more successful in the job search and career paths down the road. Marcy's asking, by now we have processed 2 payrolls. Can we upload them at the same time? Is there a limit as to the number of payrolls that can be uploaded at the same time? Marcy, you may have to do one payroll right now and then do another payroll immediately following it. You can, if you want to type in more than one time
Hey, Dee.
frame. Yes, Tammy?
The whole thing is this is Natasha. You have one payroll upload. If you continue to upload payrolls in this same time frame and the same place where you're entering it, you're just going to cover up. It's just going to save over what you've already done. So you can upload your payrolls. You know, if you did, my time frame was, July 7th through July 11th. I could put that in, and then, I could put my expenditure report in. Then I would have to say, okay, then I'm going to do July 14th through the 18th, do that one. I'm going to do July 21st through the 25th. I can do those. I can do them back to back, but they still need to be separate entries, because if you try to do it, or the other option is I have my pay period start is the 7th, and my end period, end of the date is the 25th. I mean, you could combine it into all one payroll upload entry and just have, but you need to have one start and one end date for each of those entries. If you try to do, 3 different weeks in one entry, all it's going to do is save over what you already have there for the payroll, if that makes sense.
It's going to overwrite it. So Marcy, does that answer your question? Great. And then I just saw another question. Just to make sure I am clear, if we have a participant that has one completed payroll and now she's going back to college in 2 weeks, do we have to replace her with another participant, or is she considered a completer? She would be considered a completer. You just have to, in her file for the status, you need to put return to school. So NLEI does that. Thank you. Okay. We're going to...
Also, Dee, to add to that, I mean, they can go ahead and add another person in her slot, too. So if there's still funds available, and if she went to school early or exited the program early, they could always add another individual into that slot.
Great. So NLEI, do you have somebody else that you can replace her with?
And then that would be considered an additional count to their service number.
Okay. Did we answer all of the questions? Can the individual work their hours before they depart? Yes, as long as they don't go over 40 hours in a week. Marcy has, one last question. So far, we have to submit to a payroll upload, an expenditure report upload, and a grant report submission, which Tammy emailed. Or is the expenditure report the same as the grant report? The payroll upload and the expenditure report go hand in hand in the payroll uploading reportings. I'll show you that momentarily. The grant report submission that Tammy emailed is a completely separate report. Does that answer your question, Marcy? Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to, do we have any questions about eligibility, pre- and post-assessment, or Employment 101? I think I may have answered all of those. Let's go, let's move the check-ins out of the way, and let's do a screen share so that I can show you the payroll reporting. All right, does everybody see my screen? Please raise your hand if you can, with the little man at the top of the, great. All right. So now let's take a look at doing a payroll upload. We're on the dashboard right now, and remember that you go to SYEP Guide, and then on that page you can log into the tools, which will take you to your dashboard. From your dashboard, you have the youth screen. You have where you can see all of the different youth in your listings. You can see the employers that you have added, and you can see the placements that you have done. I'm not quite sure what to do about the blurry because my screen is
One of the things that they can do is in the upper right-hand corner, you see the, the arrows, and there's an icon with some arrows that are pointing outwards to all four corners. If you click on that, it makes the image, full screen. The only other thing I could say is if you wanted to zoom in to your screen a little bit closer, get 150% instead of 100, D.
All right.
Or whatever you're at.
Full
Could work
screen.
if you hit Control Plus, make it bigger.
All right. All right. Does that help? Is that a little bit better? All right, great. Okay. So on the reports, I'm sorry, we're on placements. On payroll, you will go to payroll tab in your dashboard. You have a couple of options. If you've already started a payroll, you can go in and edit that one. Once it has been approved, you can only view it. That means that somebody from DHS or DCEO has approved your payroll report. If it says not reviewed, that means that you have submitted it, but that somebody from DCEO or DHS has not reviewed it yet. And then if you see an edit and a view, then you can still make changes. So what you can do here is, we were just talking a little bit earlier about adding a payroll. So if we add a payroll, the option is if you want to combine all of them from 3 weeks in a row, you can do that, but you can also do July 1 to July 7. That would be 1 week. When we add those dates and continue, you then have the next screen that will give you the download payroll template. That what this does is it creates a an Excel document, and you can then have a report that pops up where you can enter hours, you can enter wages. I'm going to make this the same for everybody. It will copy all of that down the row. Then you save this document. going to save it in my folder, and it is 71 to 77. I'm going to tell them that I want to continue using the CSV document. I will then browse the document. I will come down, pick the file that I just uploaded, open that, and then upload the payroll template. It will show me the people, the hours, the wages, and at the top of the screen it shows me how many youth I had, the total wages, and that's what we need to add to our expenditure report. So then what we need to do is open up our expenditure report. And we need to make sure that our time frame is correct. So I would change this to 7/1, and I would make this 7/7. I would change this dollar amount here to $567. Now this number will actually include your payroll dollars, your Social Security, the Medicare, and the workman's comp portion on this payroll. So this dollar figure is not necessarily going to match the number that is showing on your payroll report. It will probably be a bigger number. So then once you have this payroll, this expenditure report completed, then you want to save that. And we're going to be saving this as 7/1/277. Save it. I go back to the browse for that file. I look for the grant expenditure file for 7/1 to 7/7. I select that. I upload that document. It shows in the bottom of the screen here that I've uploaded that document. If that happens to be the wrong one, you can delete it and submit a different one. Once I am done with this and I'm sure that everything matches, I hit submit. It will give me a message to please confirm that the pay period dates match the expenditure report dates. I submit this payroll. At the top of the screen, I get a message that says payroll has been submitted for review, and then I can go back to the payroll list and see that 7/1 to 7/7 is in here with $567. It's right here. It has not been reviewed yet. Then if you've discovered that you have made a mistake, all you have to do is contact Tammy from DCEO or your contact from Fred or Datya. Can you tell them who they need to contact from DHS? And let them know that you've made a mistake. They will put it back to not submitted. You can make the changes, and then you can make those corrections and resubmit. So that gives us the payroll upload. You can get the expenditure report on in your grant guide under the SYEP guide. Somebody will probably type that into the pod for me. Under the full list of resources, you can find it there. Under program and fiscal reports, you can find the expenditure documentation for DCEO or DHS. Here, Ashley is the person that will take care of any mistakes that you may have made. And the other place that you can find that is under the reporting box. You can find it under the upload expenditure reports. You can find the reports here as well. There is not a presentation download for July 30th at that link yet. Michelle, I'm not quite sure what you meant with that question. Is the signature and date line item required in the uploaded file? For DCEO, it is not, but you do need to have it signed and filed in your file cabinet at your office so that if the auditors come, they will see that. If you need to sign it and scan it back in, you can do that. But DCEO does not require that. Fred or Dottie, do you know if DHS requires the signature on the file that they upload? We will find that out if they will let you know momentarily. All right, let's go back and see if we have any other questions from the audience while I was demonstrating that. There are directions in your SYEP guide for you to reference, and they're really good directions. I was able to do my first payroll strictly from the directions. So, Michelle, they're really good. Natasha did a good job with them. Did we answer Donna's question about where to get the expenditure report?
Also, Melody, Lewis, if you could just let us know if you're with a DCO site or DHS site. We want to be able to answer your question about the assessment.
We are having trouble deleting people from work sites. These have no paychecks yet, but the website won't let us delete people from their work sites. Melody is with DHS. Let's go back to placements, because that's where you would go, and you would, under placements, the work site, Alex, under the edit placements, you go down to the person that you want to remove, and you just, at the far right-hand side, you hit remove. And then if you are wanting to remove Quinn Quasi from the work site, you remove the placement. Oh, there has been a payroll upload. So Quinn has had a payroll upload, so I cannot remove her or him, whoever Quinn is. And but if they have not had a payroll, you should be able to remove them. I tried that in the confirmation.
If you have any specific people that they weren't supposed to have a payroll and it was added accidentally, then just send that information to SYEP 2014 at onlyworknet.com, and we can help you work through removing those.
Oh, Lacey, you beat me to it. All right. Does that, okay, great, Alex. Okay, we have some items under the other section. does anybody have a question that we have not already answered for you?
We do have a question from Melody. It says, I'm getting a lot of complaints about parents about the assessment test, that they want to know why do they have to do it, and is it true that they must complete it before getting paid? The pre and post assessment is a requirement for the program, and that's it. I mean, it was stated ahead of time that that is a requirement. And I will defer to DHS for their feedback on I don't there that it's there's nothing in the system that will keep them from getting paid. So that technically, there's nothing in the system that will keep them from getting paid. Now, if that's more of a requirement, from DHS, then I'll let them address that.
All right. Couple of things that we want to cover right now is we do have for youth who are ready to go back to school, as we had with the one student, we have a youth post survey that is almost ready to go. It will be up on the youth site very shortly. There is a series of questions, and once they complete one screen, that will take them to the next screen.
And the link is available. So if they have youth that need to take it now because they are ending their program and you have access to them, they can go ahead and do it now. It is through there's a link in the guide. But this will also be made available directly in their SYEP tools. They have their career readiness tab, their work experience tab, the resume builder tab, and they'll have their success story and post survey tab. That all this will be available directly through their SYEP tools.
All right. We have a question here. This question wasn't answered. Sorry, Nicole. Can we use an intake form as proof of income for the youth? You're with a DCEO grant fundee. Is that correct, Nicole?
Yeah, this is Tammy, and we do have Evanston. Proof of income, you can't just use the intake form by itself. You need to have some other documentation. So if it's like SNAP benefits, you need to have a printout of their benefits. If it's income, then you need to do an income verification form. So the application, the intake application itself is not proof of income.
Oh, all right, Nicole. All right, so does that answer whoever asked the question originally? And I'm thinking that that might be Letitia. All right, we also have the employer post survey that is up and ready to go, and it is only 6 questions, and then the employer is done. So we would appreciate it if you could get your employers to make sure that they answered the survey for us, as well as your youth who are leaving the program, if they are done with the program. All right. Do we have any other questions before we move on to the item that Tammy needs to cover? We'll keep an eye on things in the chat pod and answer your questions. So Tammy, up on the screen right now, I have the document that you wanted to discuss with everybody.
Yeah, and this is specific to just DCEO grantees. Our department has a universal grant report form that is required 30 days after the calendar quarter end. So this report is actually due to me today, and it covers June 1st through June 30th. And I sent an email. Hopefully everybody received the email with this document. But we just kind of wanted to walk through and explain what needs to be filled out. And at the top part, D, you've got it right there at the top, the very top box. You're just going to basically fill in your grantee number. And what you're going to do is put both your grant numbers because, unfortunately, with DCO, we have two grants for many of you guys out there. So you have an 07. Oh, you have a 14071 and a 14072. The 14071 was funded out of the state fiscal year 14, and those funds can be expended started June 1st. But the 14072 grant came out of the 15 state fiscal year, and those funds cannot be expended until July 1st. But you can go ahead and put both grant numbers on here because this is going to be a program report. So we're encompassing your entire program. So you put both grant numbers up there. The report period would be June 1 through June 30th. And like I said, once again, those funds can only come from that grant that is out of the 14071 series number. The prepared by, we need that, and with a contact number and email, and then the date prepared. So if there's any questions we have on the report, then, I can get a hold of you. And then if you want to drop down the screen under Section 1, it says expenditure reporting. We have it pre-populated as far as the line items are concerned. So you're going to put under the DCO budget amount, that's going to be your total amount for both grants. So if you did receive two grants, say you received $100,000 for the total program and 20 came out of one grant and 80 came out of the other, we want the total amount in here, so that would show $100,000 in that. Previous reported expenses, of course, would be zero. And then current reported expenses, and these are only expenses that were incurred from June 1 to June 30th, would fall under that column number 5 there. And then if you want to drop down further, matching funds are not required, so you would skip that subpart B. Under subpart C, we have grant funds received and cash. So you'd have your entire grant amount again. Like I said, if you had $100,000 for the program, that is actually pre-populated from what's put up in the top part. Cash requests, we did do cash requests in here internally for you guys, and we did 30% of the grant amount was the first cash request that was done. So there was a current cash request under 3 would be the 30% amount that you hopefully have all received for the grant. And then the grant funds remaining is the amount of your total grant minus what we still have here within DCEO. And then the grant funds on hand is the amount that you currently have on hand that is not expended or it's not obligated at that point. And that grant funds on hand would match like your trial balance. So when you submit the trial balance to us with this report, we should be able to figure out, based upon your trial balance, the grant funds on hand, it would match your trial balance. And then, Dee, if you don't mind going up the screen back to the expenditure report area. The other thing with your trial balance, when you submit it, we have the line items, so we have the 1,000 through 5,000 line items. On your trial balance, and you can handwrite this on your trial balance if need be, but we need some sort of a link because you're telling us what your costs are here for like your youth wages and program services and administration and contractual and other costs. So in your trial balance, you need to have some sort of a crosswalk so we understand how you took that information from your accounting system and how it was put into our line items. And like I said, we just even if you handwrite it on your trial balance, and show us, okay, these items in our trial balance came out of the 1,000 line item. These items came out of the 2,000 line item, so we can correlate your trial balance with the our expenditure line items. Okay, and then D, if you don't mind moving down the report a little bit further. And like I said, this is only for DCEO grantees, so the DHS, you don't have to worry about this specific report. If you want to go under the scope of work, there's only 5 line items there, and in your grant agreement under 2.6, we have task. The first 5 tasks are participant-related tasks, and so those are the only ones that we really need for you to include in the scope of work here. The other ones deal with a little bit of monitoring and everything, and we can always add those later. This is a lockdown forum, so we've only allowed for those line items. But go ahead and put those first 5 in your scope of work that are participant-related tasks from it's 2.6 in your grant agreement. And then the next thing you're going to go to is the report section, subpart B. Don't worry about filling that out. That's not required. Subpart C is the performance measures, and we've already put those in there for you. So it's the number of youth served and placed in work experience, the work readiness improvement, and percent of youth fully completing work experience. So your required amount is going to be the number of youth, obviously, that you had planned in your scope of work. And then you're going to let us know previous activities is going to be 0 because we just started. So your current activity, if you had planned on serving, say, 100 youth, and you have serving and placing 100 youth, and you have 80 placed, and then under current activity, you'd have 80 there. And then the work readiness improvement would be the same way. You have, say, your plan is 100, and work readiness improvement, and this is those that have taken the pre-test and the post-test. So we're not expecting a lot of numbers in this yet. So based upon the 100 people that have been placed in work experience and have taken the pre-test, and you may, if you had like 5 that did the post-test and scored 70% or higher on that, that would show up there. And then percent of youth that have fully completed work experience. And basically what that means is they've taken the pre-test, they've taken the post-test, and they've had at least one payroll. So if you had 100 people that were in your scope of work, and at the end of the program, this is when these numbers will really be going up. But you have, maybe you have, at this point, we don't expect a lot of numbers in this first quarter at all, if any numbers in this one. But in August, we're going to be seeing larger numbers in there. So if you have 100 youth, then you may end up having 80 that have completed the pre-test, post-test, and have had at least one payroll upload, and that's what would go in there. And then section 3, you can just skip the job count certification. So let's go ahead and move on down that screen. And subpart B, you can just skip over that too. If you wanted to add anything under subpart A with success stories or additional concerns, you can feel free to add any content in there that you want. And then it needs to be signed under the grant certification. The grant signature needs to be signed by your authorized signatures. So whoever in your grant agreement is authorized to sign documents needs to sign this. You need to have their name typed in and the title typed in and, of course, dated. So I just wanted to kind of walk through that form for everybody so you see what we're anticipating, on this. And like I said, once again, it is due today. So, hopefully we'll be getting a flood of those in today. And then if you have any questions, please type in the pod and we can answer those.
We got a couple people typing, Tammy. So let's, I wasn't able to click into any of the cells. Oh, there I could.
This is a protected form, so there are certain cells that you cannot click into. So like at the very top of the screen, you probably won't be able to access that because that kind of fills in based upon the information you put under like grant number and grant name. So like I said, there are certain sections of this that are protected. So that just basically means you don't have to add anything in there. It either feeds in from the somewhere else in the report.
Yeah, from what you went enter below.
Yeah.
Donna Luckett is asking to do a subpart, a position pro. Donna, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to type there. Are due to do subpart of position profiles and assignment.
And I just want to be very clear, like I said, once again, this is a DCEO required report form. DHS grantees do not have to do this report form. If DHS has different report forms that they require, then you guys have to conform to what DHS wants from you guys. This is only DCEO that has to complete this report.
Are we to do subpart A under which section, Donna? Because there's a subpart A under a couple of them.
Subpart A under section 1, yes, that's the expenditure report section. Basically, subpart A and subpart C under section 1 needs to be completed. And then under section 2, which is the performance measures, subpart A and subpart C needs to be completed.
And then under section 3, they don't need to?
You don't need to complete anything under Section 3.
All right. And then under Section 4, if they have success stories already, you can fill that in.
Correct.
So
And honestly,
subpart
success
A,
stories should probably show up in WorkNet. I mean, we want to see your success stories added in your WorkNet, but if there's any specific information that you want to share directly with DCEO, you can type that information in those sections.
So right now, you've told everybody that only Section 3 is the part that does not have to be completed right now.
No, nothing needs to be completed in that section at all.
All right. Does anybody from DCEO have questions about this form that they need to ask Tammy right now? All right. Keith typed to follow up. Cheryl Spiller, our regional, receives the following error: 401 unauthorized access is denied due to invalid credentials. You do not have permission to review this directory or page using you're getting a 401 error when trying to get the upload section. Is he not registered properly? How do we get that fixed? Lacey's typing. I believe she's going to have to fix that for you. So you can send a message to SYEP 2014 at illinoisworknet.com or follow the directions that Lacey's going to type for you. Do we have any other questions from the audience that we have not already answered for you today? Let me bring out our check-ins just in case you did not already check in today. Pull these back over here real quick. So please make sure that you have checked in. All right. All right. We've got one last request to take a look at something. So let me move the check-ins out of the way. And what we're going to do now is we're going to show you the how youth can get to and complete their employment guide. From the SYEP 2014 page, let me move these back over real quick, and then I'm going to show you guys. Please check in real quick, and then I've got to show you one more thing.
And while they are checking in, this is Natasha. One of the things, we did make an update to the Employment 101 guide. And what you could do before is you could enter in a job title and a career area. We've made an update to that. So anyone who has done that before, they can still access that information. But now we've made an enhancement which will allow the youth to navigate to a career and just click a button that says add to my career plan. And then it adds it to the career plan, and they can take notes just as they did before. But it's nice because it holds that link there. So if they want to go back and easily access all that information and the details, they can easily access that through their career plan. So I hope everybody likes that update. It's kind of like incorporating a bookmark into their plan.
So from the SYEP page, we go to the first box right here where it says return to your SYEP application and tools. Once they select that, it will log they will need to log in, and I'm logged in as myself here. I go to the Career Readiness tab, and then I can access the Employment 101 guide. In the Employment 101 guide, we can access all of the tools in here, and once we've completed a section, we get a green check mark. As Natasha was just speaking about, when we view our plans, all of this information will show up across the top. So it will show us career and training research that we've done, job search organizer that we've done, achieving our goals, and our SMART plan, so that as we look at these different things, what's our SMART plan? What have we done? What are we going to be doing to achieve goals? You can put in notes from the different sections that you've done. And when you've looked for a job, you can add the information here, where you've called, where you've applied, and then this is the career training information that they've done during the course of their Employment 101 guide research that they had for each of the sections.
Hey,
Natasha,
Dee, can
did
you
you
click
want to
on
talk about anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. If you wouldn't mind clicking on where it says Explore Careers for that first module. And then, so you know, it tells you the updates of what to do with your career plan and so forth. So if you go to, just open the step 1. Don't click on the links or anything. But what it'll do is, you know, there's an article that they should read first, and it'll take them to their career interest inventory. And so we had suggested that they do the career cluster inventory. And then if you go to, and let's just assume that they already did that. And then if you go to step 2, where it says explore jobs, required skills, and so forth, then you'll see that they're already presented with a listing of career clusters. So go ahead and just select one of those career clusters. And then go ahead and select one of those occupations.
Oh, I don't know which one to pick.
So many
Okay.
options. So we've
There
also
are.
updated the menu so that it's really easy. We tried to make sure, you know, the headings for the menus that are displayed and just the way it's displayed now, just, you know, makes the information really easy for them to find, you know, especially with the details that they're going to, you know, take a look at and take notes on. But if you see the blue button where it says, I can add to my career plan or something like that, can't really read it, it's small, but see? And so if you scroll up just a little bit, see, so that, oh, yeah. So you can see it's added to your career plan. You can easily delete it. You can take notes. And so once you save this information, you know, it's easy to access through your you know, like the view the entire plan. So you have all those details and they can compare them side by side. But those are some of the updates that we've been working on. Our next step is to be able to add the same type of link for the training program. So you'll see that in the future as well. So, you know, we're going to put together, I'm going to put together some information about the changes that we've made to the employment plan. So you can look for that and just, you know, keep posted on the enhancements that we're making to the employment plan.
And Beatrice asked, can we see who has completed the Employment 101 or the Youth Career Plan from our dashboard? Chelsea answered, Beatrice, this is something our technical team is working on right now. Once they're done, you will have a link on your dashboard that will link to the youth plans.
You should be able to see that this week.
That will be exciting.
And if all goes well, tomorrow. We're in the testing stage right now.
All right, do we have any other questions from the audience? We're right at about an hour, so we'd like to, quick question on payroll once the pay period ends. When do you expect us to turn it in? That depends on when you need money to pay them. If you've got enough money, you can submit it at your leisure. If you need to have the money to pay them, then you might want to submit it as soon as you complete it. You mentioned going over DGR before the session was over. We did do that. That was the Excel spreadsheet that we were talking about that Tammy spent time covering. Melody's typing again, so we'll give it just a moment. And while we're waiting, I'll move the check-ins back over just in case you missed checking in. Tammy, or do you have anything else that you need to say?
No, I think we're good. If there's any questions from the DCO grantees, please give me a call. Like I said, we're progressing well. We have monitors that are out in the field right now. We have Tier 1, Tier 2 monitoring going on right now. So some of you may have some of our monitors getting with you this week, as a matter of fact, to provide, some technical assistance and everything too. So, please, let them help you when they're out in the field if you have any questions with any of that.
And what needs to be turned in today?
Okay, Melody, if DCEO grantees have to submit the DGR report, which we went over, it's the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity grantee report, and they also need to submit that with a trial balance. And it's only from June 1st to June 30th. If you have no cost, what you can do is just submit a zero trial balance, or you can also submit an email saying we had no cost and I cannot produce a trial balance. So if you can't send in a trial balance, just put that in the email, say there was no cost in June. And one thing I want to make very clear, especially with our DCO grantees, is the only cost in June can be attributed to the grant that we gave all the funding to. So it's the 14071 series grant is the only grant that can be charged for June cost. And now starting July, you can charge both grants for your costs. And we'll have at a later date, we're going to have to figure out, the attributing costs to the two grants. That's something we'll have a different conversation with, and we'll probably just do that with DCO grantees.
And Fred, I opened up your microphone. Is there anything that you need to cover with the DHS grantees?
No, we had a meeting yesterday with all our grantees that went over the expenditure and all the things they need to do. Everyone should be aware that Ashley will be on vacation tomorrow. We'll be back on Tuesday. If you have any questions, you can give me a call or send me an email.
And Fred, do you want to type your email address into the chat pod?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Guests that just asked the question, are you with DCEO or DHS?
DHS.
The if you had no expenditures in June, you do not need to submit the report.
No, for DCEO, you still need to submit the DGR report.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you just show zero. So you still need to submit the report from 6/1 to 6/30, but you just have zeros for your costs and your production.
All right. Any other questions from anybody? All right, we're going to end our session today. Thank you very much for joining us.